So it's an absolutely beautiful day here in Missouri. Normally you hear me say South Georgia. We're up here 4 or 5 days working on the Homestead and Pines project. I got me and the oldest boy. Weather is really cool up here compared to South Georgia. So they think it's hot and we think it's kind of cool. We have a pine tree right there that when Dad picked this place out in 1979, I imagine that pine tree was much smaller. And it wasn't an issue when you're coming in, but as you start to bring trailers in, it keeps getting hit with trailers. So I absolutely hate taking out a good tree. I really do. But today we're going to take it out. It's not a really big tree, so we're going to knock it out. And that's pretty much it, man. Just like I said, we're getting a lot of work done here this week. I already took out a tree that was problematic for the house. And the oldest boy is doing a lot of bush hogging in the field, so we're kind of slicking that down. And then I've got some underbrush here I've got to trim. And it's every time we come up, once a month, it's work. But hopefully one day, we'll get to that point. And the youngest boy bought me a big O. There was a term, back when I was growing up. Of course, it'd be absolutely politically incorrect right now. In the theme of our world. But anyway, it is a big speaker. I guess that's what you call it. So I've actually been using it. I like to listen to the birds, and you can hear all kinds of stuff out here today. But I've been listening to it because it was my Father's Day gift. And so it's waterproof. I don't know how you can make a speaker that's waterproof. I still don't understand that one. But anyway, we're going to get up there, do some footage, and knock some limbs down, and then the oldest boy will come through with the tractor and grapple and grab them and go. So with all that being said, hang on. And we got all the gear on. You can hear all the jingling, and we fixing to put on the spikes and climb. So here we go. So we're about halfway up the tree. It's a beautiful day here. I climbed a tree last week in Georgia. I got hot. I mean, like really hot. But anyway, I survived. We're going to run through a couple things. For some of you, kind of curious, like all these devices and stuff. And, I'm brand new to this tree climbing stuff. I've rock climbed for years, but it's kind of the same, kind of different. Going to show you the view too. I'm pretty much level with the top of the, roof. And so anyway, it's a gorgeous day. The speaker's kind of cool, man. I was climbing a Bob Seger right before I flipped this off, so I've never got to climb a tree with Bob Seger. Love to meet the guy. Love his music, love his energy, man. I love the way he just blows it out. But anyway, let me flip this phone around here, and I'll kind of show you some of these devices. On our other channel, we talk a lot about, products. We're not sponsored or endorsed by anybody, which we think is kind of cool. So nobody owns us, right? That's neat. And so same thing here, where I'm going to talk about some devices and just these products, and very, very happy with the quality, easy to use, and none of this would be possible without my friend that I met on the internet, which is kind of creepy weird, but her name is Amanda, and she is an arborist, and she can spell arborist, and she's just been instrumental and just kind of giving me advice, starting from the ground up, literally. Hang on. So it's kind of hard because you're really close here, but we have a lot of Notch products, been very happy with them. This is something new. This is my second time climbing with it. It's made by Petzl. This is called the Zigzag Plus. And basically it kind of controls the rope. And this is called a chicane. And then you can see how you can, if I can get my hand up here, I can lower this and then I can bring it back up. Now what that does is, this is like my personal safety system. Because you're running a chainsaw, you kind of want to be anchored in at 2 points. So this thing always stays ahead of me. And then this is what you call your flip line. And that's actually what helps me climb. This is brand new today, never used it before, by a company called Rock Exotica, and it's called a rope grab. And so I can basically pull this and get more tension to keep me tight, give me slack. I can back off here a little bit. Kind of hard to do with one hand. Hang on. And then that just gave me like another 2 inches. Really neat device. And then you'll see talked about this in other videos, massively sharp little handsaw, and then my chainsaw is hanging off the other side. So you'll see the house in the background. This used to be a lot of, there was a lot of trees in here, so we thinned it out. These trees will be able to grow bigger, kind of like we do in the South. And then I just got a bunch of underbrush here. There's my mobile speaker tree removal vehicle. And then you can see way up there, you can kind of see over the roof of the house. The pond is actually off that side there. So absolutely beautiful day. So you can see we got a little, little shift there. Got a little ways to go, and we're just kind of dropping limbs and making our way. So hang on. So we're basically here at the top. At this point, we'll just make a cut, just kind of push the top over. My favorite part, because it's pretty cool when it comes off, because the weight changes, and then it's like you're, like a squirrel hanging on the side of a tree during a hurricane. Had one limb come very close to my mobile tree removal vehicle. You got to be careful with your drop zone, and the limb hit and then it's kind of bounced. Sounds kind of crazy, but anyway, missed it by that much. Anyway, so I'm gonna buzz you, show you the top here. Hold on. So as you can see, we're basically just about there. Strapped all in here, and you can see that one limb there came real close to the mobile tree removal vehicle. But anyway, beautiful view. Fresh smells of pines. Right here, man, smelling that. A lot of good stuff there. It's unfortunate there's not like a chair up here where you can just take a breather. You can kind of sit in your saddle, the harness. But, because I think it's a great place for a video. And so when I climbed the big tree back in Georgia, which is on the list, I just need to figure out a way that I can kind of chill out up there. I'll probably sit on a limb. But like I said, I cut all the limbs off. But when you climb trees, you'll figure out, and rock climbing and everything, is that you burn a lot of energy that you don't need to burn. Part of the reason I added this latest device, this rope grab, is because I was using a knot system to slide the rope, and it was causing a lot of friction. And it was getting problematic. The last tree I climbed, my left arm was done at the end of the day. So I bought this device. Mechanical devices are more money, but it saves your energy. And so when it comes to trauma, we see that a lot in trauma, is that people get stuck, and they're emotionally stuck in a spot. So what's the spot? Well, it's like it's kind of like the shoulda, coulda, woulda. I should have done this, I could have done that. And that's where peer responders or a good friend comes in and says, whoa, you're trying to own something that you can't own. You just can't own it. It's not yours to own. So what would be an example? Probably not the best example, but a lot of times, firefighters will struggle with, if I'd have got to the house 10 minutes sooner, I'd have saved everybody, because it's kind of ingrained in them. And I don't like the way it's ingrained in them. Their job is to stop the spread of fire, not save the world. And it puts a lot on those poor guys and gals. And so, a coroner could come in and go, hey, they were dead 45 minutes ago, not 10 minutes ago. It's not yours to own. And that's where people get stuck. And that's our job, is to kind of unstick them and conserve that emotional, energy, and kind of get that cognitive brain kicked back in. So for trees, rock climbing, a lot of things, you look at where you're wasting energy, and this is physical energy. Like right now, I'm wasting energy. My legs are starting to get tired because I'm spiked in. I'm leaning back the best I can, and I'm getting tired. And so it's like, hey, you got to shut your mouth, get back down the tree, and quit doing a video. So we're going to go ahead and drop this top. Unfortunately, I can't film the top coming down. I don't see the oldest boy over there, but that's the cool part for me, like I said earlier. So we're going to go ahead and top it off, and then we'll start just chunking it as we come down, and then we'll be done. So hang on, conserve your energy. As you can see, it's that easy. Push it right down there. So we're going to get to it and just start chunking this thing off as we go. Hang on. Well, it's actually the next day. You'll see in the video, I dropped that one section, and then I dropped a couple more sections. And then I went ahead and came on down, conserve energy. run the big boy chainsaw versus the battery operated chainsaw. So tree gets a little width into it there. So you'll see back here, just cut it off and laid it down. And got kind of a semi-rainy day here, but still wearing all the gear. And I actually got, let me show you my little cute pants. These are my my little Santa Claus. No, those are chainsaw chaps. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video and understand the importance of, you know, if you are being emotionally drained. When I was in the top of the tree, my brain locked up, and I think it's just because I'm focusing on working, not, you know, talking about trauma. The three things the brain does, and we've covered this in a lot of other videos, is it likes to complete things, it likes to simplify things, and it likes to categorize things. So those are three little categories. The complete phase is kind of like, you know, why did this have to happen? The simple part is the brain's just trying to make it simple for you so you can digest it and you can get back in the game. You can go back to work, you can do whatever you need to do. The brain doesn't always think about the most intelligent things. It kind of comes up with a path that may not be the best path. Example would be, you know, you're taking ownership of something you shouldn't take ownership of, but you're still struggling, and the brain says, well, you remember that one time you had a drink and it made you feel better, try that. Seriously, that's how it works. The other part is the category, you know, where do you put it, you know? So when I'm out here working on the farm that I grew up on, you know, every tree that I cut down, I think about those first trees that I cut down with my father many, many years ago as he broke me into the world of chainsaws. We didn't wear helmets back then and didn't wear chaps, and we got smarter. And that's the category, you know, of where things go. But a lot of times the way life is just designed, it's new. It's a brand new something, and the brain doesn't know what to do with it. And then the brain just kind of says, well, I don't know where to put it. And now we need to figure out why this happened, which is like the complete part. And then how do we make it simple so the brain can digest it? Dr. Mitchell and I years ago looked at how do we simplify all this clinical terminology that literally bogs everybody down, including me. You know, if you sit down with a mental health professional and they start talking to you about the amygdala and blah, 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 you're like going, I don't really get that. So we came up with very simple terms. You know, collision of worlds is something I came up with. The hamster wheel. And the hamster wheel is that stuck mode that you may end up where you're just spinning. And you're spinning like that little hamster, just trying to figure out, do I need to go faster? Do I need to go slower? You know? And I don't think the hamster's thinking about PT. I think the hamster's just spinning. So when you're stuck, you're burning a lot of emotional energy. And how do you conserve that? You conserve that by consulting with others, maybe watching a video, maybe reading a book. It doesn't always have to be a mental health professional or somebody that's highly, highly trained. It just hash it out, talk it out, figure it out. And then if you realize that you're really, really stuck, then that's when you get the winch and you get the four-wheel drive and you call in the big guns, as we call it. And that's when you really reach out. And it's so hard for so many people to reach out. So hopefully, if things go well here, like we want them to, then if you build it, they will come. They'll come, and we'll hash it out, and we'll work it out, and we'll do whatever it takes to get you unstuck from whatever you're unstuck with. And even if we don't completely unstick you, at least you'll have an opportunity to take a deep breath and feel better. So I got to get back to work. If we don't get all this moved, we can't get off the property. So that's not really a smart thing. So if we get injured, we're going to have to get creative to get out of here. The oldest boy's fixing to fire up the tractor and the grapple, and we're going to start pulling stuff. And I'm going to leave you with this. Over there is a stump. And when our time is done here, we're all going to leave behind some form of a stump. And it's going to have the rings in it. And if you really deep dive into trees, you learn about the rings and how many years and all that. Think about the stump that you're going to leave behind. Think about the years that you've put in. Think about that stump being there, and what did you do to make society better. Did you make a good ring or did you make a bad ring? You know, and I always say it, think about the footprints you leave behind. Think about the words that come out of your mouth and how hurtful they can be. And sometimes it happens in the heat of anger, but sometimes we're just not thinking. And we say things and it does a lot of damage and it sticks with people. So who am I today? Absolutely loving life today. Great weather. Didn't get my run in this morning, but I'm going to work it in before the day's over with. And you know, took down a tree that become very problematic for equipment coming in and out. Does it bother me? It does. It really does. But we've got to do that in order to have the progress that we need. And it will leave behind a really cool stump that we're going to put something on, and the tree will be remembered. Y'all have a great day.